The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor, silencing the laughter. I stood at the microphone, my hands trembling, the weight of 1,000 unsaid words choking me. "Welcome to my father's engagement party," I said, my voice sharp enough to cut glass, "where we celebrate love, betrayal, and the man who abandoned his dying wife." The room froze. My father, Richard, stood in the center of the glittering ballroom, his new fiancée, Claire, clinging to his arm like a life raft, his face drained of color, the charming smile he'd worn all night replaced by a look I hadn't seen in years, guilt. I could feel the eyes of 100 guests boring into me, their whispers rising like a tide. But I didn't care. Not anymore. 5 years ago, I was 17, sitting by Mom's hospital bed, holding her frail hand as cancer ate her alive. Dad was supposed to be there. He promised he'd be there. But he wasn't. He was across town, tangled in hotel sheets with Claire, his colleague, while I changed Mom's bandages, fed her, and lied to her that Dad was just busy at work. I was a kid, drowning in grief, and he left me to carry it alone. The memory burned as I stared at him now. His tailored suit and polished shoes, a mockery of the man who couldn't even show up for Mom's final breath. Claire, all diamonds and elegance, looked at me like I was a bomb about to detonate. She wasn't wrong. "Lila," Dad said, stepping forward, his voice low, pleading. "This isn't the place." "Isn't it?" I shot back, my voice rising. "This is your party, Dad, your big moment to show everyone how perfect your new life is. So let me tell them the truth. Let me tell them how you left Mom to die while you built this shiny new future." The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath that sucked the air from the room. Claire's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes darting between me and Dad. I could see the questions forming in her mind, the cracks in the fairy tale she'd bought into. Good. Let it crumble. I wasn't always this angry. Once, I was Daddy's little girl, the one who'd ride on his shoulders at county fairs, laughing as he spun me around. He was my hero, the man who could fix anything until he couldn't, or wouldn't. When Mom got sick, something in him broke. He stopped coming home, stopped looking me in the eye. By the time Mom died, I barely recognized him. He moved out a month later, leaving me in our empty house with nothing but her medical bills and a note that said, "I'm sorry." I rebuilt my life, college, a job, therapy to stitch up the wounds. I thought I was over it until the invitation arrived. "Richard and Claire invite you to celebrate their engagement." No call, no apology, just a gold-embossed card like nothing had happened. I could have ignored it. I should have, but something snapped. I needed him to face what he'd done. So here I was, in a borrowed dress, standing on a stage meant for toasts and love songs, tearing open the past. "You weren't there, Dad," I said, my voice cracking. "I was 17, and I had to tell Mom you loved her because you couldn't be bothered to do it yourself. I had to watch her cry for you, beg for you while you were with her." I pointed at Claire, who flinched like I'd slapped her. "Lila, stop," Dad said, his voice breaking now. He took another step toward the stage, but I held up a hand. "No, you don't get to control this. Not anymore." I turned to the crowd, their faces a blur of shock and pity. "He left me to pick up the pieces. I was a kid, and he left me to bury my mother alone. And now he wants to play happy family. He doesn't get to erase the past just because he found someone new." Claire was crying now, her mascara streaking. Part of me felt a pang of guilt she didn't know. She wasn't the one who abandoned us, but she was part of this lie, this polished facade Dad had built to escape his shame. "Lila," Dad said again, softer this time, his eyes glistening. "I'm sorry, I was weak. I couldn't handle it. I failed you. I failed your mom." His words hit like a punch. I'd waited years to hear them, but they didn't fix anything. They didn't bring Mom back. They didn't erase the nights I'd sobbed alone, wondering why I wasn't enough to make him stay. "You don't get to apologize now," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. You don't get to make this okay just because you're sorry. The room was silent, the kind of silence that presses against your chest. I looked at Dad, at the man who'd once been my world, and saw someone small, broken, human. I wanted to hate him, but all I felt was grief for Mom, for me, for the family we could have been. I stepped off the stage, my heels clicking against the floor. The crowd parted as I walked toward the exit, my heart pounding. Claire called after me, her voice shaky. Lila, please, let's talk. I paused, turning to look at her. Her face was raw, vulnerable, like she was seeing Dad for the first time. Ask him, I said. Ask him who he was when Mom needed him. Then decide if you want to marry him. I walked out into the cool night air, the weight of what I'd done settling over me. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel free. I felt empty, but also lighter, like I'd finally let go of something I'd carried too long. Behind me, the party continued, the music starting up again as if nothing had happened. But I knew the truth would linger, a shadow over their celebration. Dad would have to face it now, face Claire, face himself, and maybe, just maybe, I'd started to heal. What do you think? Was I right to expose my father's past at his engagement party? Or should I have stayed silent? Share your thoughts on the choices made and the consequences that followed.